To try and combat software piracy, many companies, not only Microsoft, have made it a requirement to activate your product after it has been installed. This is done by the software sending an activation request to the company that the software was purchased from. If the product activation request is successful, the user will receive a positive response back from the company and be able to continue using the software. If the product is not activated, then after a set period of time, the product will stop working. Windows Server 2008 and Windows Vista both require activation after you install them. Microsoft offers a few different ways to activate your product once it is installed. Understanding activation before you install can save you some headaches later on. Previously, if your company was able to purchase a volume license key, you could install Windows XP without needing to activate it. This also applied to Windows Server 2003. All you needed to do was type in your volume license key when prompted, and Windows would install, no questions asked. With Windows Server 2008 and Windows Vista, even if you have an enterprise agreement with Microsoft, all products must be activated. You can, however, install Windows Server 2008 and Windows Vista without a product key and enter a product key later on. If no product keys are entered during the install, you have a 30-day grace period to enter a product key. These new procedures and technologies used to activate products are collectively known as Volume Activation 2.0. With Windows Server 2008 and Windows Vista, there are 3 different types of product activation depending on what you purchase. These are OEM, Retail, and Volume. OEM is computer bound, which means the license cannot be moved from one computer to another. OEM activation is performed automatically when the operating system is installed. The retail version, or boxed product, is activated after the install, either manually or automatically. You can activate your product in 2 different ways. First, Multi-Activation Key or MAK, and secondly, Key Management Services or KMS. MAK is used for small environments while KMS is used for large enterprise environments. The primary difference between the two is MAK requires you to activate your product with Microsoft, while KMS you can activate your product locally. KMS does this by performing a one-time activation with Microsoft. All your computers after this can be activated with the KMS server. They no longer need to be activated by directly contacting Microsoft. Multi-key activation is generally used in environments with less than 25 computers. Each computer needs its own product key and needs to be activated with Microsoft. Even in a small environment, it can be time-consuming to go around and check every computer. For this reason, Microsoft have released the Volume Activation Management Tool, or VAMT. This tool can be downloaded from the Microsoft website. Using this tool, you can determine how many licenses you are currently using, and how many computers are activated, and how many need to be activated. If you have a secure network, or a network that is not connected to the internet, you can always use the phone to activate these computers. If you have a lot of computers, this can soon become a time-consuming process. Using the VAMT tool, you can export your installation IDs to an XML file. The XML file can then be taken to a computer that has VAMT installed and internet access. The confirmation IDs can then be moved back to the isolated network and imported into VAMT. If you have a lot of computers on an isolated network, this can be a real time saver. VAMT can also help you audit the licensing of computers on your network. Let's have a look how to install and run VAMT. The install of VAMT is very straightforward. Download it from Microsoft, run the setup, and press next through all the prompts. When it is completed, run VAMT from the start menu. Since this is a new install, there will not be any computers listed. If I right-click on user-defined groups and select Add Computers, I can manually add computers to the tool via their IP address or their name. Even with a few computers, this can be a time-consuming process, so I will select the option Search Active Directory for computers. I will also tick the tick box, Gather computer information for all discovered computers. This option will contact each computer and gather their licensing data. The VAMT tool will attempt to contact each computer and get their licensing details. Some of the servers are down at present, so the VAMT tool will not be able to gather any information from them. As you can see on the left-hand side, the computers have automatically been put in their appropriate groups depending on their status. On the right-hand side, you can see more detailed information. Since this is a test environment, there are no product keys. However, If you wanted to add some, you would select the option Manage MKS. From here, you can enter your product keys, saving you from visiting each machine and doing it manually. If you have a small network of computers, MAK works well, but when you have hundreds or thousands of computers, it becomes very time-consuming to enter all those product keys. Key Management Services is designed to activate a large number of computers. Before you start using KMS, however, you need to have a minimum number of computers on your network. If you do not have the minimum number of computers on your network, real computers, not virtual computers, KMS will not operate. Once the threshold has been reached, KMS will start performing activations. If you want your KMS solution to activate Windows Server 2008 installs, you will need a combined total of 5 Windows Server 2008 or Windows Vista computers. This means that once you have a total of 5 of any combination of Windows Server 2008 or Windows Vista computers, your KMS solution will start activating Windows Server 2008 installs. For your KMS solution to activate Windows Vista clients, you need a combined total of 25 Windows Server 2008 or Windows Vista computers. These computers again need to be physical computers, not virtual computers. This is done by Microsoft to stop KMS being used in small environments. This is mainly in an effort to stop piracy. Keep in mind that the threshold is calculated based on the number of computers that have activated with it in the last 30 days. Even though KMS only needs to activate with Microsoft once, the clients must activate with KMS periodically. If they fail to renew their activation, they will stop running after 210 days. Keep in mind that virtual machines do not contribute to the threshold count. However, once the threshold count has been met, virtual machines can use KMS to activate. To set up a computer to run as a KMS host is very simple. First run the command slmgr with the switch IPK and your product key. The product key will determine what products your KMS host can activate. For example, you may have licenses for Windows Server 2008 Standard, Enterprise, and Windows Vista clients. This KMS will be able to activate these products. However, it will not be able to activate Windows Data Center or Windows Server Itanium. Once you have entered the product key, the host needs to be activated by Microsoft. You can do this by running the command slmgr with the switch ATO. This will perform the one-time activation with Microsoft. If you need to perform the activation over the phone, you can use the command slui to perform a phone activation. At any time, if you want the status of activation on your computer, run the command slmgr with the switch DLV. This will display the current activation status. This will also show you how many computers have tried to connect to your server to activate with it. Let's run through the setup of a KMS host. First of all, open a command prompt. I have already entered the product key on this computer using the switch IPK. All I need to do now is activate with Microsoft using the ATO switch. Once the computer is activated, I can run the command slmgr with the DLV switch. This will tell me the current license status of this computer and the current status of Key Management Services. You can see here that Key Management Services has received 7 requests in total, 2 requests from computers that have licenses and 5 computers that are in their initial grace period. If you look further up, you can see the current count is 5. This means the activation server can activate Windows Server 2008 computers. Once this count reaches 25, it will also be able to activate Windows Vista computers. By default, KMS clients should be able to find the KMS host by auto discovery. They do this by looking up the service record in DNS. This service record gives the clients the IP address and port address of the KMS host. When you set up your KMS host, it will automatically create via dynamic DNS a service record for you. In most environments, this will work without a problem. If your computer is having trouble finding the KMS host, you can set the host using the command slmgr with the switch skms. If you are using a DNS server that does not support dynamic DNS, you may need to create the DNS record yourself. For the exam, Microsoft recommends that you know how to manually configure the host in DNS. So let's have a look how it is done. First of all, run the DNS tool from Administrator Tools. Expand down to your domain name. For the KMS host, you need to create a new TCP service record under the root of your domain. In this case, test.local. The DNS record will appear in the _TCP folder under your domain name. Right-click test.local and select Other New Records. Scroll to the bottom and select the record Service Location SRV. For the name, enter _VLMCS. This is what the client queries for in DNS. For the protocol, enter _TCP. Priority and wait can remain 0. Enter the port number as 1688. Enter the hostname that is running your KMS host. Once all the fields are complete, press OK to create your new DNS service record. Press Done to exit the DNS record dialog. The new record will be created under the folder _TCP. Once created, your clients will be able to query your DNS server to find your KMS host. If you have a server core installed and wish to activate it by using the command line, run the command slmgr with the switch ATO. This will contact Microsoft and activate. If you want to change the product key or enter a product key, run slmgr with the switch IPK. If you want to set a KMS server, you can use the switch skms to set your KMS server. If you want to know the status of your current license, you can use the switch DLV. You may be thinking, some of these commands are the same as the ones used to set up the KMS server. These commands are exactly the same. The difference is the product key that is used. If you enter a product key that can activate other computers, that computer will become a KMS server. If you don't want to activate server call via the command line, you can use the VAM tool demonstrated earlier to activate server call from remote. The decision on whether you use MAK or KMS depends on your needs and how many computers that you have. MAK has the advantage that you only need to activate your computer once. The big disadvantage is that you need a separate product key per computer, so keeping track of all those product keys can become a big job. KMS has the advantage that one product key can activate many computers. This means that you don't have to keep track of a lot of product keys. KMS also requires no user interaction. When correctly set up in DNS, the KMS client will automatically find the KMS server. The user does not need to enter a product key or run the activation wizard. Keep in mind, however, the KMS client must contact the server at least once every 210 days. If the computer fails to contact the KMS host within 210 days, the computer goes into reduced function mode. For this reason, do not be surprised in a large organization they may use a mixture of both MKA and KMS. Computers that are isolated or may miss the 210-day limit will be activated with MAK, while others on the main network will be activated with KMS. KMS is the preferred method if your organization is big enough. Therefore, I would use KMS where possible and then MKA everywhere else. Whichever method you choose, or a combination of both, make sure that your computers are activated. If your computers are not activated, they will switch to reduced function mode. If this occurs, you will have a lot of upset users when they find that they can no longer use their computers.